he will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days.
Today, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
That the courtroom, tension-filled excitement as Shed Diddy CS made. His most recent appearance was his once powerful presence is now only a ghost of its former self. The individual who had constructed an empire from his extravagant persona appears very dissimilar to the mogul, who used to walk the red carpet wearing fitted. The absence of diamonds in clothes was the haggard swagger in place of a confident one. Figure wearing a jumpsuit in khaki, notably grayer hair, and his physique transition was noticeably thinner, impossible to overlook. Even for those, the spectacle of stardom is nothing new to us. Trials.
Incredible. And, it brings into context our whole system of innocent until proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, we can debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent until proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent until proven guilty.
Journalists, such as Elizabeth Milner, couldn't refrain from commenting on his. He had an incredible appearance. Much thinner, Milner said. Reporters, her tone was infused with a blend of "you're shocked and saddened to see a man who's evidently gone through it in the previous few months. He's completely different from his lavish lifestyle prior to his incarceration." Diddy's extravagant way of life had characterized him. For many years, private jets and yachts, the lavish gatherings seemed so long ago. From this quiet, exhausted figure now sitting and staring in a federal courtroom, reducing the likelihood of spending his remaining years behind bars weren't only Diddy's physical attributes that had implied that he had altered his behavior in court. Seeing the man struggling under the burden of observers observed his conditions. The times when he seemed defiant, turning to give his kids a quick smile within the gallery, and even those short attempts towards optimism appeared rushed. Thin veil covering his growing desperation. Legal team under the direction of Mark Adenfilo and Anthony Rue sat next to him in rage, making notes and muttering tactics, but the strain on their faces revealed the difficult task they encountered when attempting to obtain his freedom.
Legitimate concern, no judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day, oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds. On the other hand, we deal with cases where clients have significant funds sometimes. And sometimes where there's money, you can craft a unique solution. Years ago it was the ankle bracelet and the ankle monitor.
This wasn't your typical. It was a struggle for survival in the courtroom. Diddy's legal issues started to become worse. Following his arrest in September, and the accusations made against him presented a damning image. Claims of coercion, misbehavior, and planned schemes positioned him in the middle of a CLD scam, so expansive that it appeared to retract the drape covering the whole underside of the entertainment sector. However, in spite of the growing body of testimony and evidence, Diddy entered a not guilty plea to every accusation, preserving his innocence by using a tenacity that some referred to as brave, and some people are naive. Yet, if Diddy wished for, the courts were not granting him any leniency. Any repeated attempts by his legal team to obtain bail had utterly failed. Judge Arun Submanan is disputing each and every ask for the justification for the danger of prosecutors claimed that witnesses were falsified, that Diddy's resources and power made him a possible danger to the integrity of the trial that they referenced before situations, such as claims that he had attempted to scare people engaged in the case as proof that providing him with bail might endanger the procedures. The court's ruling was Diddy would undoubtedly stay behind bars until the start of his trial in May. That,
with all the money he has and all the resources he has, he couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, but the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone. So
the Metropolitan Correctional Facility, Brooklyn Center, where Diddy has been detained since his apprehension, is very different from the luxury he used to call home. Former prisoners have called it hell on. The facility, Earth, is well known for its severe circumstances and violent reports, overcrowding, and poor quality of life. The imprisonment has been marred by years in a center for someone accustomed to gourmet lunches and silk sheets. Adjusting the harsh reality of life behind bars was definitely a surprise. Michael Cohen, a past prisoner at the same establishment, To put it simply, he's waking up on a steel bed with a mattress that is 1.5 inches. I can't find a cushion in an 8x10T cubicle. Guarantee that you are repulsive to Thor's near. Diddy disclosed that he first found it difficult to modify the cuisine and specifically was said to be difficult. According to his attorney Diddy has expressed dissatisfaction with the bland and unpleasant lunches that frequently included a fruit and cereal for breakfast, followed by hamburgers without seasoning, or options for lunch and dinner include baked fish. Weren't all that much better from pasta, like lentils, and there were plenty of leftover chunks to be wanted with his formerly strong body. Has clearly reduced rumors that were being spread regarding the extent of the stress and conditions were affecting him negatively.
Well, Sierra, anything's possible, right? But now this judge has an even harder time, I think, because the past judge locked him up, didn't let him out, and he's still there available for trial. If the new judge lets him out on bond and something goes wrong, and this isn't the analysis that I'm proud to make, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, judges are worried about their own skin and how they look if something bad happens.
Sierra, everything is possible. However, this judge now has an even more difficult. I believe this time because the last judge tied him in, prevented him from leaving, and he is still there and can be tried if he is released by the new judge on bond, and something goes wrong in this. The analysis I'm proud to present isn't put straight what we shouldn't be saying. Judges are self-conscious about their appearance and how they appear if something is wrong occurs. But within those prisons, Diddy Walls was still attempting to exert control. Whispers started to surface regarding his efforts to connect with people. Associated with the case, prosecutors stated that he had attempted, while incarcerated, to make touch with victims and witnesses, which further reinforced the court's decision to hold him in custody. However, Diddy's defense team strongly refuted these claims. The gossip depicted a disturbing image of a man who is anxious to keep control of a collapsing empire. His appearances in court turned into a contrast theater. On the one hand was Diddy's public persona, composed, periodically displaying smiles at his mouthing words by kids and supporters, providing support to his son throughout it. However, there were also the hearing silent times when his fatigue and anxiety appeared to permeate the cracks. Onlookers observed that he occasionally slouched in his chair, fiddling with his hands, while his lawyers appealed for him. These brief displays of weakness were a harsh warning that even the most strong people are not exempt from the severity of their situation. By
Everything. They're going to try to transfer him, they're going to try to get him out. In a normal case where it's a high-profile person or a well-funded person, the prosecution and the judge is a little bit more concerned about wrongful prosecution, because people that are mad that they're being arrested for a crime they didn't commit can turn around and file for malicious prosecution.
And yet Diddy's court appearance was as much as it was about his symbolism. Hence, his attorneys appeared to be extremely conscious of the fighting tooth of optics and nail so that he can go to court. The argument is shackled without might perhaps lead to juror bias, impacting how the general public and ultimately a jury may view him as the judge granted the request. But the greater conflict was still ongoing. Although the stakes felt rising with every hearing, there was more noticeable tension in the room. The scene outside the courthouse. Ongoing media outlets analyzed each information from his legal team on his case, tactics for his dealings with relatives during hearings, though the public was split as well. Some perceived Diddy as the scapegoat, was falsely implicated by a man in a sector rife with comparable scandals. Others saw him as the personification of everything about the unchecked is flawed. The influence of social media and celebrity culture turned into a site of conflict. Use arguments and hashtags to maintain his name that's popular for the wrong reasons.
He can't move in the general population, and would he be at risk? Sure, he'd be at risk. There's so many people that have nothing to lose, right? They're going to be in jail the rest of their life. They've got nothing to. They want their 15 minutes of fame. They were friends with Diddy, or they hurt Diddy, or they Diddy, or they did. I mean, there's so many, people in jail that this would be their moment. You can't put him there. Plus,
however, for all the one thing about courtroom drama headlines, Diddy's fall from grace was evidently unfolding in real time, and it was both tragic and captivating. Guy who had previously been honored as a pioneer in business and music, who had established he built his empire on his charisma and ambition, was currently battling to save what was left of his standing. In ads, the accusations grew, and the proof heaped up the query in everyone's thoughts. How much longer could he stay the same? Wait till the courtroom session is over. Then they brought brought Diddy back to his cell. There were rumors, the whispers went on, of upcoming new lawsuits of more people getting ready to come forward, moving forward with tales that could destroy his legal team and legacy. Clearly exhausted, huddled together, planning their next course of action for Diddy. The conflict was still ongoing, but his armor's cracks were starting to, unavoidable.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment, as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
What caused his circumstances to even more unstable was the enormity of there were multiple accusations, charge, or a single lawsuit. This was an insiders and witnesses to Avalanche victims were coming forward to share stories of portrayed a scathing image of a man who had supposedly worked without consequence for decades, and during the time his lawyers were relentlessly to find flaws in the prosecution's case before the public court. It had already started to be rendered by opinion. Decision. It was within this framework that Diddy's court case changed from a personal conflict to a more general statement on responsibility and authority in his narrative was about more than one man. It was about a society, a culture, and an industry battling the effects of allowing wealth and fame to act as a shield people from close examination for a long time. Lengthy, and as the drama in the courtroom developed, it was evident that Diddy's battle for he too had to struggle for his release. Something far more significant, his legacy is genuine.
This is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
The world watched as the trial approached with eagerly anticipating what's new. The narrative would reveal revelations. Was not finished yet, and the following chapter stated that it would be considerably more explosive. More victims would come forward as a result of his legal team is able to change the course office advantage. Or was this the start off the conclusion of one of the most famous people in the history of modern music? The severity of the accusations made against Diddy Combs is a phenomenon that the entertainment industry hasn't witnessed. The sheer volume of claims over decades, the range of assertions, and then the case's high-profile nature has generated a tornado of criticism that has consumed not only Diddy but the whole music industry. With each week that goes by, the weight increased as more voices were heard. Of the accusation against him, it's not only regarding Diddy's innocence, or it's about the enormous ripple effect. Guilty. This controversy is spreading around the business and beyond.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. How long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come within the next 2 years?
The accusations, which vary from coercion to fabricate plots, have depicted a man who was accused of utilized his wealth, influence, and power to function in a manner that many people are calling possibly the most damaging feature of. There is more to this case than just the charges themselves, but the enormity of everything. Insiders claim that more than 100 people have come forward. With some tales going back decades. And some as recently as a couple of years ago. Despite their differences, these tales all appear to indicate a habit of conduct that has left many questioning how such acts might have remained unchecked for a long time. Among the most startling aspects of the level of detail in these accusations supplied by those who already spoke out, associates, staff members, and even those who assert that they were close. Diddy has come up to share tales that vary from alarming to utterly terrifying within the wall. For instance, the Street Journal in 1999, over 200 persons were detained and found guilty. Even though they were found guilty, these aren't just anonymous. Has to deal with a lot of them. People are connected to Diddy's inner circle, making their assertions even more difficult to fire, while Diddy's attorneys have worked non-stop to undermine these. Explains the overwhelming number of accusations has made it challenging to overlook the growing evidence. According to David Brennan, this horrific parable makes it quite evident that we're not only seeing amazing demise.
It sounded crazy. Like I said before, they said that 2,300 people reached out to the law firm And out of the 2,300 people, I guess they decided to go with just a little over 100, which seems like it's they just put out the number and everybody's calling to see if they can get a check.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Now, again, he did say that nothing has been filed yet because he says he wants to make sure that they do their due diligence and get this right.
Fueling the fire with the litigation that has been accumulating since late last year, everything started with a shocking lawsuit that Diddy's Cassie Ventura, a former partner in November 2023, she asserted that GES were resolved in a day, opened the openings for more people to come forward. However, Diddy's group has insisted that the lawsuit's settlement was not, and critics of admission of guilt contend that the quick resolution simply makes things worse. Questions: why settle so swiftly if you have nothing to conceal? Cassie's case served as the impetus for a wave of court cases, with numerous lawsuits being filed by people in the weeks, and the ensuing months were among the most. Joy Dickerson is involved in important cases. Neil, who charged Diddy with wrongdoing beginning in the early 1990s. She narrative that contains accusations of being used and captured on camera has drawn without her knowledge considerable interest in Diddy's. Her assertions have been categorized by representatives as fake and an obvious attempt to get money. However, the case has contributed to the expanding list of claims that depict a disturbing image of his past, followed by the unidentified Jane Doe, whose lawsuit details alleged, including Diddy and other well-known people's assertions, which entail planned strategies and complex arrangements, have only strengthened the public's curiosity about revealing the reality.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
Possibly the most concerning feature of the whole saga is the purported participation of those who assert they were singled out or taken advantage of by many of these people. Some of whom were aspiring models or musicians have expressed feeling helpless in the face of the extent to which Diddy's impact accounts they were frequently enticed to with assurances of employment prospects, only to discover that they are enmeshed with because they were unable to avoid this. Tales have resonated with the public indignation and demands for increased safeguards for those who are susceptible. People working in the media business has contributed much to using outlets to get these voices heard, such as the New York Times, CNN, and Reuters, providing in-depth coverage of the drawings of Diddy sitting in a courtroom. In addition to his legal team, he has become an emblem of his declining grace, while conversations with suspected victims have infused the theory tale with a personal element. Reporters, such as Elizabeth Milner, have been leading the charge to cover the scenario, offering thorough explanations of court cases and insider information that have maintained the public's interest in. Milner, who was present at multiple pre-trial hearings, characterized the mood as tight and heavy, with each and every utterance in court bearing the burden of the situation.
The investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
Not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
No one wants to mention.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.